Hi, everyone. I'm Aaron Larson, Executive Editor of Power Magazine, and I'm joined today by Sonal Patel, our Senior Editor, and Daryl Proctor, our other Senior Editor. And we're going to talk a little bit about gas, natural gas, and what's happening in the power generation industry today and looking forward. Daryl, you've got some keen insights. Done a lot of reporting around natural gas. It's part of your background, and I let you start out by just kind of sharing what insights you know from the industry.
Well, I think one of the first things, and I wrote about this several weeks ago, there's a couple hundred plants on the drawing board, natural gas fired power plants on the drawing board across the U.S. A big part of this is because we have obviously an abundance of natural gas. We've led the world in production for, gosh, going on 5 or 6 years, 7 years at this point. Uh, and in a lot of these areas of the major shale plays, particularly in the Midwest with the Marcellus and the Utica shales, we're seeing a lot of new gas plants, Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, that area. Florida is another area where there already are many natural gas fired power plants, and we're probably going to see a lot more. The demand for power from data centers, and all of us have written extensively about the different fuel types that are going to support that, but we're seeing more and more that natural gas fired power plants are in that space as well. And in fact, I will have an article upcoming on a power plant complex in Ohio, which they did an expansion, and specifically the expansion is to attract a data center operator to come in and utilize that campus and the power produced by that campus to power their data center operations. And again, Ohio is a hotbed. Virginia is a real hotbed for data center deployment, and I know Sunol has touched on that as well. So, that's one of the things to look at. And last but certainly not least, the new Energy Secretary Chris Wright. He's an oil and gas executive, and there's the Trump administration has already said we're going to promote fossil fuels. So expect a lot of support for natural gas in particular as we move forward here, which I only see really, I've characterized it as boom times for natural gas, and I think it's been that way now for a while, but I think it's only going to get better for the gas space.
If I could just pivot the conversation a little bit, the problem that a lot of us are facing are that we don't specifically have the equipment. The demand is there, but I think what we're hearing from industry for right now is that we are looking at a supply chain constraint, and that could impact gas plant operations. So, for example, and this is something that we took away from the NextEra call, the earnings call recently, last in January. And one of the things that have been pointed out are that gas turbine and infrastructure maintenance could face delays because of supply chain disruptions. And then, of course, in order to build all of these new gas plants, we're going to need to have infrastructure. And that permitting and building is always been a bottleneck. So it is kind of a very interesting scenario. We're going to have to see how everything is going and how it will actually affect the future of power generation planning. In terms of non-traditional players, I think that there's still a lot of potential, but a lot of the investments that we are looking at are being driven by the utilities themselves. So I think a lot of interest that's coming in from the oil and gas sector has to do with CCUS and hydrogen co-firing and other aspects of the gas supply itself.